I used to think regret was something people carried quietly, the kind of thing that showed up years later in the soft lines of their face. I never thought it would be thrown at me like a weapon, in the middle of our kitchen, under the same light where we'd once danced barefoot to old songs. But that night, regret had a voice, and it sounded a lot like my wife, Emily. We'd been married for 7 years. Not long enough to grow old together, but long enough to have seen each other through the kind of storms that usually make or break a marriage. We had our share of good times, road trips, lazy Sundays, burnt pancakes that made us laugh until we cried. Somewhere along the way, those small, bright pieces started to fade, replaced by the dull, steady hum of distance. At first, I blamed myself. I worked long hours as a contractor, thinking that stability was love, that providing was the same thing as being present. She used to tell me, "I just want you here." I thought she meant physically. I didn't realize she was talking about emotionally. By the time I did, she'd already built walls so high around her that I couldn't see her anymore. The first real crack came one night after dinner. I noticed she wasn't wearing her ring. It was subtle, but I noticed everything about her, even the things she wanted to hide. When I asked, she smiled, a small, practiced smile, and said, "It's just uncomfortable." I nodded, pretending to believe it. But I knew comfort wasn't the issue. Comfort had left our marriage months ago. Over the next few weeks, our conversations turned into exchanges of information. "What time are you home? Did you pay the bill? I'll be late tonight." No laughter, no teasing, no warmth, just logistics between two people who used to love each other. Then came the night that broke the silence. It was raining outside. One of those long, steady rains that makes you feel both peaceful and trapped. She was sitting at the table scrolling through her phone. I was washing dishes. I turned and said, half joking, "You've been quiet all night, thinking about running away again." She looked up, not angry, not amused, just done. "I'm thinking," she said, "about how much of my life I've wasted trying to make this work." I froze, the plate still in my hand. "What do you mean?" I asked. Her eyes didn't even flinch. "I regret every day with you." There it was, regret, dressed in calm cruelty. No shouting, no drama, just truth carved deep enough to bleed. For a second, I didn't know what to do with those words. Part of me wanted to argue, to demand an explanation, to remind her of the laughter, the trips, the years we'd fought side by side. But another part, the quieter, older part, just felt tired. I walked over to her, and she finally looked up at me, maybe expecting anger or pleading. But all I said was, "If that's true, then I don't want to make you regret tomorrow too." She blinked, confused, like she hadn't expected it to be that simple. I slipped off my ring, the one I'd worn every day since the day I promised forever, and held it out in front of her. For a moment, it caught the light from the kitchen bulb, glinting gold like something alive. "Then let's end it here," I said. The ring hit the table with a sound that didn't seem loud, but in that silence, it was deafening. She didn't say anything, just looked at me, as if realizing what she'd unleashed. I walked out that night with nothing but my wallet and car keys. No bags, no shouting, no long goodbye. The drive was quiet, the kind of quiet that feels like both freedom and mourning. I pulled over near the old gas station where we used to get coffee on Sunday mornings, and for the first time in months, I let myself feel everything. The anger, the sadness, the disbelief, all of it. But underneath it all, there was something else. Something almost peaceful. Maybe it was acceptance. Maybe it was the realization that love shouldn't have to survive regret. I didn't go home that night. I checked into a small motel off the highway, the kind with flickering neon signs and the faint smell of old coffee in the air. It wasn't glamorous, but it was quiet, and quiet was something I hadn't felt in years. Lying there, staring at the ceiling, I kept hearing her words on repeat. "I regret every day with you." It's strange how a single sentence can feel like both a wound and a cure. Wound, because it hurts to know the person you gave everything to feels nothing but remorse. Cure, because it sets you free from the illusion that you still have something to fight for. The next morning, I drove to work like nothing had happened. My coworker, Jake, asked if everything was okay. I just said, "Yeah, just tired." It wasn't a lie, I was tired. Tired of being the only one holding a door open for someone who'd already walked away. A few days later, Emily texted me. "We need to talk about the house." "No, how are you?" "No, I'm sorry. Just business." I replied, "Sure. Send your lawyer's number." That was the last time she ever reached out directly. In the weeks that followed, I found myself revisiting memories. Not the big ones, but the small, forgotten moments. Like the night we built furniture together and ended up laughing on the floor, or the way she'd hum while making coffee. I realized I wasn't grieving the person she became. I was mourning the version of her that used to exist, the woman who once looked at me like I was her entire world. But people change. Sometimes love doesn't die all at once. It fades, quietly, until one day you wake up and realize it's gone. I think she reached that day long before I did. The divorce papers came in a manila envelope with her signature already on them. Clean, efficient, heartless. I stared at the papers for a long time, not because I couldn't sign, but because I needed to make peace with what it meant. That 7 years of laughter, struggle, and shared dreams could be reduced to black ink on white paper. I signed them anyway. After that, something inside me shifted. I started running again, not away from her, but back toward myself. I spent weekends fixing the old truck I'd neglected. I started reading before bed instead of scrolling through old photos. I even took a solo trip to the mountains, where I watched the sunrise alone and realized that peace doesn't come from people staying. It comes from you learning to stand still when they leave. About a month later, I ran into one of Emily's friends at the grocery store. She looked surprised to see me. "You look good," she said. "Heard you and Em finalized things." I nodded. "Yeah, we did." She hesitated, then added softly, "She's been quiet lately." Maybe she didn't think you'd really walk away. I just smiled. Neither did she. That night, driving home, I thought about that ring, the one I'd tossed on the table. I wondered if she'd kept it or thrown it away. But then it hit me it didn't matter. That ring had stopped meaning something long before it hit the table. In the months since, people have asked if I'd ever take her back. The answer's simple. No. Not out of pride, but because when someone tells you they regret you, they're really saying they've stopped seeing your value. And once that happens, the only person left to believe in you is you. Sometimes love ends quietly. No screaming, no betrayal, no third person. Just two people who drift too far apart to find their way back. And when that happens, the kindest thing you can do for both of you is let go. I don't hate her. I don't even resent her. If anything, I hope she finds whatever she was looking for. The happiness she thought she missed with me. Because as strange as it sounds, her regret gave me something too. Clarity. I learned that staying where you're no longer wanted isn't loyalty. It's self-abandonment. And leaving, even when it hurts, is the purest form of self-respect. So now, whenever someone asks about my marriage, I don't talk about the ending. I talk about the moment I finally understood that love isn't supposed to feel like regret. It's supposed to feel like peace. And the day I walked out of that house, ring left on the table, heart still beating but unburdened. That's exactly what I found.